Hey guys, it's Ray, and we are streaming blacksmithing. Hello there. Hey Dark, how are you? So, I was actually able to check out one of your train streams the other day. It was really interesting. It was like out the door, maybe? Kind of looked like, and you were like going down the tracks. It was kind of interesting. So I stuck around for a little bit. I haven't said it before, but I like that intro. Simple, getting ready for the job. It's good. Thank you. Yeah, I thought, actually, it was my partner's idea to do it that way, and I thought it was really interesting. So we went that direction. Hey, Boston, welcome in. Welcome in, everybody. All right. So I guess maybe I should have left my welcome screen up a little bit longer because I'm still a little bit getting ready. So the last several streams, we have been working on our silverware. So we've got our fork, our knife, and our spoon. And I've been kind of grinding these guys and kind of cleaning them up a little bit. I've got a little bit ways to go on that. So you can kind of tell on the fork, I haven't gotten to the handle yet. On the knife, I'm working on the handle a little bit. The spoon, I haven't gotten to the bowl yet. But we will be continuing to do these tomorrow instead of my stream. So I think they're coming along pretty nicely. I started editing the videos. So that's really exciting. And yeah, I'm pretty happy with how those are turning out so far. So that will be coming by the end of the week. Oh, thank you. And yes, I don't go by any scripts or something. I just see an opportunity for something interesting and to happen and pull out my phone and off we go. Exactly. And I mean, that's a great way to start streaming. That's definitely how I started. It was kind of like a spur of the moment. I wanted to go out into the shop and I was like, well, what if I streamed it? It kind of gave me a little bit of extra motivation to, get out here and stuff. So today we are going to be doing our user choice. We voted on Monday, because today is Wednesday. We voted on Monday whether we wanted to do a 3-prong fork or whether we wanted to do a sharp knife. And we voted, and the 3-prong fork won. So I have a piece of mild steel here. It's going to be kind of a quick job, so I don't want to use like a really thick piece. So this is a 1/4 inch, 4 inches long piece of mild steel. And yeah, unfortunately, those are imperial standard measurements and not metric. One of these days I will get better, or I'll get like a metric tape measure, but it's really hard to find those in the United States. So yeah, we are going to turn this into a 3-prong fork. So first things first, I'm going to turn on the forge. Yay, forge. Ooh, that was really, really fast today. Okay, let me shove that back a little bit. There's a brick that was sticking out. And now we'll start this lovely forge. Okay. This tank's a little bit on the low side, so we're probably going to end up having to change the tank, but I got a brand new one to add. So I think I've gotten music or metric tapes from Amazon. Welcome in, Corporal Tunnel. Yeah, I think that I should definitely look into that because it's so much easier to work with metric than imperial standard anyway. And I just like it better. But the one thing that I cannot change is that the default sizes at my steel supply are always going to be an imperial standard. So it's always going to be like 1/4 inch or 5/8 inch or whatever stock that I happen to be buying at the time. Unfortunately, they don't go by metric, so I guess I will have to do conversions. Hopefully that won't be too bad. Okay, so I have added a, I guess on Monday I added the new intro, and I have also added a new outro for the stream. So that way you guys don't have to sit there and watch me kind of struggle to start and stop the stream. So yeah. I mean, you could move, just kidding. That would be too much math for me. I could move, and I mean, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world to move out of the United States, but I mean, it costs a lot of money to like move all of your stuff, and especially all of this stuff. I kind of don't think that I'd be able to actually take my anvils and my equipment with me if I moved. I'd have to start a brand new shop. And I mean, I've spent thousands of dollars on this shop. I would have to start all from scratch. And while it would be really fun going shopping for all of that stuff, I don't look forward to spending that kind of money. So I think I'm stuck here for a little while at least. So I have started doing, I've started editing clips of our streams and uploading those to YouTube as YouTube Shorts. And I've been getting a lot of traction over there. So I'm really excited about it. And I've resolved to do a short every day during the work week at least. So Monday through Friday, I'd like to do a short. And I'd like to have you guys' inputs on those shorts. So if you can, or if you see something that you think might be a really good YouTube short or like a clip for the stream, go ahead and clip that for me, and I will look that up and we'll turn that into a YouTube short. Maybe we'll start putting them on, or I've been putting them on Instagram, and maybe we'll start up a Twitter, a TikTok. So I think that would be a lot of fun. We'll get some more people here into the community. Well, who knows? Maybe one day you are a successful streamer and you'll become a traveling blacksmith. Now, I mean, I think that would be so much fun. I mean, a traveling blacksmith. I think I'd have to have a much smaller anvil, but I definitely have a traveling forge already. We've got the mailbox sitting over here. It's made of one single fire brick. So this guy, it's tiny, and he runs gas, and he's a really nice forge for traveling and like demos and stuff like that in different locations. You can kind of see inside of it. It's really, really small. It's like 2 inches tall and like 1.5 inches wide. So that's really neat. It's kind of like designed for blades. But I really like this guy. It gets up to forge welding heat and everything. It's beautiful. I really wish that I still had the guy who built it for me, his card, because I would love to share that with you guys, make him some money and get you some really nice mini forges. I think I paid $150 for that one, and that's pretty cheap for a forge. A mini forge. Now that is something new for me. Cool. Yeah. I have thought about like building a few of those, kind of build to order. It's basically you just drill into a single fire brick, and there's a link in my Amazon stuff that has like some fire bricks. You can buy like 6 of them for $20, and so then you just wrap it in sheet steel and weld up the corners. And I think that'd be a really neat thing to sell, but I don't really want to step on other people's toes. So if I could find him, I would definitely send you to him. But it's been like 7 years since I found that guy. So maybe I might put a couple together if you guys are interested in picking some up. Looks like I don't have my hammer on my anvil. But yeah, if you guys are interested, welcome in, Ping. Greetings. Hello. So yeah, as far as the YouTube shorts, I would love it if you guys could help me pick out like different things that I can clip out for YouTube shorts. I've actually been getting about 500 views on each short that I put out. So there's about 4 of them up right now. And they're like little explanations here and there of different things. Like I think I have one about, or like when I was talking about buying really cheap tools, waiting for them to break, and then buying the better versions of them. So that one's up. That one's actually doing pretty well. That's the one I uploaded today. And then there's like one about when I was like talking about how the knife keeps curving on me. So that one did pretty well. So I'm really looking forward to doing some more of those. And if you guys have suggestions on like clips that I can use for those, feel free to like clip that out and link them to me so I can kind of see what you guys would be interested in seeing little shorts of. And let us see. All right. So our piece of steel is doing pretty well. I'm going to start up the record functions on the cameras, and we're going to get started today. Alrighty, so I think I'm going to start by using the 1/4 inch stock tongs, and we'll work on those. Welcome in, Mahalo. Thanks for joining us today. So today we are doing the 3-prong fork, and we're going to start that by tapering out the handle. I don't want it to be a very thin handle. It's already a pretty thin piece of stock. I just kind of want to draw out the length just a little bit so it's a little bit easier to hold in your hand. So we're going to focus on that for just a little bit. We've broken in the material a little bit, so it should be really nice and easy to get that taper in started. I'd like originally I cut this piece to be about 4 inches. I want the whole fork to be about 6 to 7 inches long. So we're gonna do a relatively skinny, maybe rounded, maybe square, we'll kind of play that by ear to see, you know, whether we want to do like some more twisting like we did on Monday, or if we want to round out that handle. So we're tapering that out just to lengthen it just a little bit, and then we will isolate out that section that we're going to flatten out and make those tongs on. Oops, I always put the back, or like maybe I didn't, I don't know. We'll hold it this way. Put the lid of my cup on backwards today for whatever reason. So yeah, once we finish tapering out that handle, we're gonna really isolate out that section of steel for our fork tongs. Now, they're very square right now, and we're gonna hammer those a lot flatter. We don't want it to grow in length. So we really wanna isolate that out in the desired length to start with. And then from there, what we're really gonna do is we're just widening it out and thinning it out so that we have a good area to use the angle grinder to cut in those tines. If you remember when we were doing the fork, we made the tines we just cut the center in half, and we drew out the tines longer to kind of make them all skinny and long and stuff. For this fork, we're not going to be able to draw out the 2 tines because while we only had to move one of the tines out of the way, we had, so that we could draw out the first tine. We will definitely, the middle tine is going to get in the way, so we're just not going to be able to draw those out, and it's going to be more of a cutting out of the tongs instead. So it's a different process, and we'll kind of show how that works as we go. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to doing this one. It should be relatively challenging. I have not actually done a 3-prong fork. I know in my head how to do them, but I've never actually done one myself. All my forks have always been 2 prongs. So we'll see how well this goes. Hopefully it goes pretty well. Let's see. We already talked about all the shorts that I've been uploading. So yeah, I've started editing the footage for the spoon, the video. I'm gonna do like a little short condensed version of the spoon, since we did 2 days of spoons, and then a little bit on Monday to kind of finish them off and polish up our work. So I'm going to take all of that footage and condense that down. The goal is to be about 20 minutes. Right now I have the first half, like the first day of spoons that we did. I have that one condensed down into about 20 minutes. So I have about, I have about another 10 minutes to get out, or to cut out of that. And we'll take it out of ums and ahs and ya knows, and then there's a whole bunch of lead time from when I take the metal out of the forge and start forging. So we're going to take some of that time out too. It's a first time for everything. No, yes, definitely. So I really enjoy doing first time projects with you guys, because we kind of get to see, we kind of get to learn how to do the pieces together. And the beauty of blacksmithing is that most jobs are, a variation of basic blacksmithing techniques. So you can take your basic tapering, your basic shelving, and your basic twists, and you can kind of modify them and combine them into all kinds of different jobs. There's also punches and chisels and cutting and stuff like that. They're all basic, very basic techniques, and remixing them can vary your project greatly. And I really enjoy kind of designing on the fly like that. So I did kind of do some research for this project. So I'm hoping that shows through a little bit. Alrighty. For whatever reason, oh, I know why. I know why. I forgot, or when I started the stream, I posted that we were live on my Facebook, and I forgot to flip the tab back to my Twitch. So I was like, why can't I see when the ad is starting? We've got plenty of time. Apparently, we already did our initial ad. So yeah. Cool. Okay. So let's do some more forging. works so much quicker and so much easier than using stainless steel. The mild steel, it just moves a lot better. I don't have to hammer quite as hard when I'm using the mild steel. So I figured I didn't really want to have to draw out the handle too much, so we would do the mild steel so that we can make sure that this project goes by in one day. I think I kind of actually planned 2 days for this project now that I think about it. I still think that it'll go by in one day. We'll be able to finish in one day. So I'm not sure what we're going to do on Friday if we can finish this piece. Maybe we'll do a little bit of finishing work for the other silverware that we made. I've got several different ways that I will finish those out. I've got a wire wheel that we'll use, and that's going to take off a lot of that fire scale, the blackness on the stainless steel. I've got some flap discs that we'll be using, and that's kind of to smooth out all of the wire wheel and the grinding marks. I've got grinder discs that I have to go through, and all of that so that we can kind of make the handles feel a little bit easier to touch and smooth and really pretty and tactily nice to handle. So I don't know. We might do some of that. We might actually start our paperclip project. That could be another thing that we can think about doing on Friday. But yeah, I will definitely have to figure out what we're going to do. Because it'd be nice to finish this work in one day. Because then I can edit it all up and cut it down and make another YouTube video out of it. Sort of more of a tutorial-esque video. Is it just me, or is somebody else's connection suffering a bit? It does look like my bit rate is a little bit on the low side today. Seems fine. I mean, I think that it's not too low, but I'm not sure. If it gets a little bit choppy, let me know. I mean, I guess there really isn't much I can do about it at the moment. It's kind of like I'm at the mercy of, the other people who are using the internet at the same time as me. Here too. Seems fine. All right. That makes me happy to hear that your connection is, or maybe my connection is better than maybe I think it is. So yeah. Bugger, I'm going to shoot my provider. It's very frustrating at times, internet connections, because I mean, any number of things like that come between the servers of the websites that you're using or you're wanting to get to and your own connection, it's like absolutely awful, especially like when you're playing video games or streaming. It can get really irritating. I totally understand that. We are going to do another round of forging. And we are tapering on all 4 sides of this piece. That way we can keep everything nice and lined up, square, and flat. I like Yeah. One of the things that I haven't really talked about a lot is like tong posture. I tend to like to, when I have a piece of metal and I'm hammering it, sometimes the metal likes to bounce up and down on the face of the anvil or move back and forth along with the force of my hammer. So instead of allowing it to just do that because my arm is like out and stuff, I actually tuck my elbows in and rest the tongs on my hip as kind of a steadying force or influence. And then I can kind of like keep them under control a lot better. So that's a trick that I tend to use a lot when I am forging unruly pieces of metal. So if anybody has any interesting questions about what we are doing right now, or blacksmithing in general, tooling, any sort of like welding, fabrication, I'm always very happy to answer questions like that. We've got some amazing built-in times where we can do a lot more question and answer and audience interaction because when we are heating up the metal, I don't have a lot to do, so talking to you guys is always it's always a joy, and I like being able to do that. So I've been watching a lot of videos about different people's like streams and stuff like that, and I've gotten a few ideas that I'd like to add to our stream and make it better. Welcome back, Boston. Yeah, so there's a few things that I'd like to add to kind of make our stream a little bit better. I think I want to do a be right back sign. So like last Monday when I moved the camera from over there to over here, or like the anvil camera from over there to over here, it would have been nice to have like maybe a be right back sign so that you guys don't see me have to struggle with all of my technology and stuff like that. So that's something I'd like to add. You don't need to try it since it's not working right, but could you explain how the hydraulic bottle jack pairs with the air compressor and how that works? Oh yes, that's definitely something we can talk about. Okay, so the bottle jack right here, this is a pneumatic bottle jack. There is on the back side of this guy, there is it's like a hose, right? And the hose kind of connects to the bottle jack in the back. And then that hose, it's this hose right here, and it comes out, and it actually comes into my air compressor. And I've got a quick release on this thing, right? And so this plugs right into my air compressor. And what this does right here, it's kind of got like a little lever, a push lever. And this little guy here, it's a lock, right? So if I press this down and lock it in, that turns on the air, or like the airflow from the air compressor into this hose, right? And then right here is kind of this little knob, and it opens and closes the valve. So when I close the valve, the air that gets pumped and flows into the bottle jack starts pressing it down, and then it closes the jaws of the press over top of the metal or whatever I happen to have under the press. When I originally bought this guy, it was actually set up to push ball bearings out of wheels. So I caught it had this like cylinder of metal that was in between the two bars, and I cut that out, and I created these the dies for the press so that we can work with metal instead. So right now in anything that's pneumatic, there is always a pressure release valve. So if there's too much air pressure within the bottle jack itself, that will open up the pressure release valve. And that is what is wrong with our bottle jack right now, is that pressure release valve is always on. So it's not filling the bottle jack itself. It's kind of just like letting all of the air out all of the time. The other thing that I noticed on Monday when we were using this guy is the quick release is not it's not closing properly. So there's a leak between the hose's quick release and my air compressor's quick release, if that makes sense. So hopefully that explains things a little bit. And it looks like we've got an ad starting soon, so once that's done, we will start back on the forge itself. And we will start hammering the metal. So, like I said, I've been really interested in making some YouTube shorts and like TikTok content, like the short form vertical videos. And I'm thinking about doing several of them per video, or like per VOD. So I think what I'm gonna try and do is like edit a whole bunch of them and start scheduling them to post every day if I can manage it. Surprisingly to me, it makes a lot of sense. Yeah, a pneumatic bottle jack, interesting. And don't know that they existed like that. Yeah, so pneumatic ones are actually a lot more rare than just regular bottle jacks. Most bottle jacks that you find are pump bottle jacks. So this bottle jack came with this guy right here, and this is the pump. So this guy right here, you press, or like you put the handle in here, and then you can kind of like, you know, up and down, or like push and pull this up and down, and it will actually start closing the bottle jack. And that's usually how these guys work. You can find a regular, you know, hydraulic bottle jack at most big box stores, or like hardware stores. But you can also get them pneumatic so that they work with the air compressor, and that's the one that I'm looking for. I did find one on, or like I originally found this guy at Harbor Freight, which is like a cheaper tools store. Yeah. But like I said, I broke it, so it's time to get a better one. Most of the time you buy these on the internet though. You can order them online. I went to Home Depot to kind of look to see if I couldn't find one in store. They only had the hydraulic ones. So they said that I'd be able to order one online. So I kind of want to do my homework before I actually purchase one. They're a little bit more expensive. Well, air and pneumatic systems are an important part of my work too. I bet they are. I'll bet they are. Okay. I'm gonna do another heat now that our ads are done. Close to the size that I want for this handle. It's still a little compare my hand with the fork length, or like the handle length, it just seems a little bit too short. I have really small hands, and I want this fork to be able to be used by a larger man with bigger hands. So I think we might take a little bit of the meat that's up closer to where the tines will be, and we'll probably draw that back a little bit further. So in order to do that, I think I'm going to turn it around so that we can kind of focus up here. So that means that I need a different set of tongs. So we'll use these tongs instead. All right, I am going to flip my clips because I was explaining the bottle jack while the ad was going. So that one's done. Now we're gonna do this one, just to make sure that I get all of my footage. But yeah, I imagine that pneumatic and hydraulic are really important in the train industry. I know that like in, what do you call it? Semi-trucks, a lot of them have air brakes. I'm not sure what sort of brakes a train has, but I mean, I guess it would be plausible to have air brakes in those. But yeah, there's a lot of different uses for pneumatic pistons and things like that. I imagine like in the old steam powered trains, like the wheels kind of used hydraulics and pneumatics to kind of get them to go. They use steam to fill up their hydraulics. It looks like my gas is starting to get a little bit low, and it is. It's starting to. So I'm gonna flip my gas. I have a brand spanking new one here. I probably should have started with it, but we're gonna do that real fast here. And I need to close this guy. I still think timing me would be really fun. See how fast I can change the tank. It helps when you have the right sized wrench. One of these days I need to clean up all of my blue caps all over the floor. I always just rip off the blue caps off of my gas tanks, and I have a pile of them on the floor. I need to like pick them up because eventually they're going to get to a point where I am going to trip over them, and that is a hazard. All right. This is kind of an old tank that I got. I always really hate getting old tanks. Because they always have little quirks about them. And I don't have them long enough to kind of work through the kinks. So, because I exchanged them instead of refilling. Alrighty, there we go. Much better. And we'll move these over here so we don't trip. Okay. Do you have a Northern Tool store near you? They tend to have better hydraulic stuff, still budget priced. Interesting, Mahalo. I do actually have one. It is not, I've never actually been there. I kind of thought it was more for like car body shops and stuff like that, or mechanic shops. So, well, I could write you an essay on the topic, but I don't want to waste your time. So how about this? On Sunday, I have another night shift starting at 6 p.m. Should be around 10 or 11 a.m. for you. And I'll give you a general walkthrough of some of the systems on the locomotive. That would be really interesting. Yeah, I'm usually around about that time. I have your channel is in my follows list, so I'll look for that notification. But yeah, we do have a Northern Tools, but like I said, I've never been there. I thought it was more of a mechanic tool place, but if it's not, and it's just got like all kinds of tools, I should totally go there and see if I can't find one. We finally have the money for it, thanks to Mahalo. So I wanted to do my research before I actually pulled the trigger on buying a new one. But if that's a place where I can get them, then it is my due diligence to go and look at all of the tools there. Northern Tool is a lot like Harbor Freight, but more name brand stuff along with store brands. Excellent. That I think I did see like some DeWalt and what was the other one? Milwaukee brand logos on the side of the building. So I will definitely take a look there. Yeah, I always love going to tool stores. My partner hates going with me though, because I always spend like forever in them. It's just one of those things, you know? But then we go to like camera stores and my partner spends forever in the camera store. So I feel like turnabout's fair play, right? For sure. Do the homework. You might find what you want elsewhere. Yeah. Stone Metal, thank you for the follow. Thank you so much. For sure. If you go into Northern Tools, you'll spend at least 40 minutes doing mental inventory. I bet I will. I'm always looking for good tool spots to go to. All right. So we are... No problem. I'm newer to Twitch, and so I'm out finding makers. Yeah, I'm actually pretty new to streaming myself. I just started in November, so we've come a long way from mid-November to now. Yeah. Stoked to support. Awesome. Thank you so much for the gifted sub. Thank you. Cool. I have some cameras on the way, so I can start too. That is so fun. I absolutely love streaming. It's been so much fun and it's so motivating because like before it took so much effort just to get me out here into the shop, and now I have a whole community that I get to talk to while I'm out here, and it's been so much fun. Followed. I'm stoked for you. Yeah, I will follow you too. Let's see if I can't get that to work. Follow. Yeah, we'll follow you. Let's see if I can figure out how to do the thing. snaps. Back to my chat. What is going on? I've done a weird thing. There we go. I make metal nails mainly these days, but I'm a jeweler. Stone cutting and polishing is very interesting. Stone cutting and polishing is so interesting. I am also a jeweler. I used to work for Signet Jewelers. So I was one of their repair techs. So we got a lot of really interesting things in. I also did a little bit of design work for them. And it was a blast. This is kind of like, oh, you also facet stones. That's how I started in all of this. That is so fun. I started as a fabricator. And then from like metal or steel fabrication, I guess. And then from there, I started casting large-scale sculptures because I went to school for sculpture or like art. And then once I got out of art school, I took an apprenticeship with Signet, and I worked my way up from there to, I think I left as a B-rank jeweler. So yeah, and then from there, like, I kind of did a little bit of hobbyist blacksmithing, but it was my favorite. I love all of the tools and all of the different techniques, and it's kind of loosely translates to all of the things that I do. So it's been a blast incorporating everything. All right, let's do another heat. Because the handle isn't quite as long as the face of my anvil. So as I hold it, I want to work, and I can't actually fit it on the anvil right. Yes, clang, clang. So I've been editing my my spoon video, and I got my AI generated like script, and this time instead of clanging, I've got metal noises is what it's calling it. So I don't know, maybe I will have a, you know, or I'll make a new emote that says metal noises. What do you guys think? I always find it entertaining what the AI interprets the hammering in my videos as, because it's really interesting. Sometimes it just, it interprets it as white noise, and white noise for it is parentheses and then 3 dots. So sometimes like I will end up accidentally deleting the little 3 dots and then half my heat's gone, so I have to like pull it back, and that's always fun. That's interesting. Yeah, so it doesn't always interpret it the same way twice. So it's been very interesting learning how to edit videos. So shortly, we are going to be finished drawing down the handle on this fork, and then we will start flattening out the area that we want the tines to come in, or to, you know, where we want to make the tines. And then while we are doing that, I need to make sure that we are creating good shoulders on that piece. I want, like, the fork that we made, the 2-tine fork, it doesn't really have good shoulders. We've got a little bit of an angle here, but we don't really have, you know, a well-defined end to the fork section and beginning to the handle section. So I really want to work on that this time. So we will definitely incorporate that a little bit better this time. Let's use some more metal or hammering. Hammer time, hammer time. All right, so I'm going to start giving our fork a little bit of the shoulders that I was talking about. So we're pinching in on this sides a little bit. Love the scattered debris of the propane bottle toppers. Yeah, right? I've got so many of them at this point. But you guys can see that in the other video. In the other one? You kind of can. That's funny. But yeah, they're scattered all over that area. But it's kind of in between the propane tank and the air, or in the bottled, or like the press. So it's not really in a place where I'm actually going to actively step on them. Although they are starting to grow and fall over towards the press. So when I actually get it working and functional again, I'll have to clean them up. Because I don't really want to trip on them. They're kind of slick. They're like a waxy plastic. It kind of actually reminds me of like the milk rings on American bottles, or like gallons of milk. You got that, like the top, the blue milk rings. That's what they feel like to me. So I don't know. Makes me wonder if there's a cheaper way to get your propane. So there actually is a couple cheaper ways to get my propane, but because it is cheaper to fill a propane tank than to do the exchanges like I do. But if I was gonna fill my propane tanks, I kind of feel like I want to do 100-pound ones And the reason I haven't changed from the 20 pounders exchanging to the 100 pounder is because then I'd have to wait to refill my tank for the weekend when my partner's around, because then we'd be able to like work together to get it in and out of the truck bed, because I have to take it to a location to refill it. But it's a lot cheaper to do that. Oh wait, that's actually methane. Like a pig out back. Yeah. So yeah, the nickname for a 20-pound tank of propane in the area, or like in this area, is a pig. I'm not entirely sure why it's nicknamed that. Maybe because it looks kind of like a pig. I mean, if I pick this guy up, and you know, I feel like that kind of looks like a pig. I mean, what do you guys think? You can kind of, you know, hold it this way, and it kind of reminds me of a pig. They'll refill 20 pounders. Yeah, they will refill 20 pounders. And like, but I kind of don't have a good one, I guess. I feel like every time I exchange one, I always get a worse one. So like this new one, what they did was they like ground down a little bit of rust and debris, but they didn't like grind it all the way down. So I can tell this guy's an old one because it's got, the top of it is all peppered with rust, and it's like very rough. So if I was gonna start refilling, I'd want a really good one, if that makes sense. Today, it's actually really, really nice out. I'm really happy. It's about 65 degrees today. So I've got my ventilation door like wide open, and I got some cross draft coming in. And I mean, I'm not really needing my sweatshirt as much. I kind of feel like my shoulders would be a little bit cold if I took it off, but overall, I think I'm pretty good. Pretty comfy. It looks like I'm starting to get a little bit of scale developing here, so I want to make sure that I clean that off. Lucky you sounds awesome. Yep. But it sounds like you could use a handkerchief. I could use a handkerchief. Maybe I should mute myself for a moment and blow my nose. I've got some like towels over there. Let me do that real fast. I will mute myself. So there we go. We are back. So yeah, it's absolutely gorgeous out, and I'm really looking forward to it staying pretty nice and warm. But I did see that tomorrow is going to be a little bit on the colder side. I think it's going to drop to about the 40s, and then this weekend it's supposed to go back up to like 68. I think it said. Better? A little bit better. I feel like maybe I should have like not used a towel that was in the shop though, because now I almost feel like I need to sneeze. So I don't know, maybe there was some dust on the towel. All right, so we got an ad starting soon. So we will wait for that ad to finish before doing our next heat. Let's see. What else is going on? I don't know. Yeah, I've been watching some other people's Twitch streams, trying to support the community and everybody else in the community that streams. So I've been trying to watch a little bit of Ping's stream. And I've been watching a little bit of some other people's streams. I've definitely been watching some Johnson. Who else have I been watching? I watched a little bit of Valencia Glass today. What else? I watched a few others. A little bit of Kiri. So yeah. No one say anything bad about Dark while he's in the ad. Nice. Yeah, not everybody's got turbo. It would be nice if all of the ads would just go away, wouldn't it? Such as what? Accusatory. Now we're just talking about trains and how amazing trains are. Yes, we're talking about trains without you because, you know, talking about trains without you would be kind of, you know, that would be almost mean, right? Let's get another heat in real fast. All right, so we're gonna start hammering out and flattening out this piece where we want our tongue or our tines to be. So it's nice and flat now. So from here, we're gonna look at these the hips that we've got that we're developing, the little shoulders, because we want to make sure that they're really nice and defined, and that they don't just like flow into the tines. the transition between the tines and the section where those tines will be. Or like, I guess, between the tines and the handle, we will redefine that. I can't say it myself. I'm ugly, crazy, overweight, middle-aged existence, and I didn't get any ads this time. Well, I'm glad you didn't get any ads this time. All right, I do need to flip my clips real fast, just to be sure. I'm pretty sure I haven't done it yet. There we go. Trolley. Alrighty. So yeah, what we're going to do is we're going to continue defining the area between the tines themselves and the handle of the fork. And we're also going to switch from the regular forging hammer back to our cross peen hammer. That way we can get a lot more horizontal movement. It will expand out the section so we have plenty of space to cut out the tines. The brand new tank is making it really, really easy to keep the metal really heated. So we'll be able to get some really good heats in. If I can get this out of here. There we go. I got it. I got it. But yeah. Oh, it starts out like the knife then. Yes, it does. It starts out like the knife. So like the basic technique that we're doing is something from all the way back that I started explaining all the way back when we were doing leaves. So in order to make a really nice fat leaf, let me show you. Let me find my leaf. I have one over here. Yeah. To get that nice, like, really fat, wide leaf shape, you always want to start by hammering with the cross peen hammer in the center area. So it's a very basic technique. So if you flatten it to the point where you've got enough space to use the cross peen hammer, and then you start hammering in the center to kind of create like a figure 8 profile. And then once you get that nice, or like as much width as possible from that center, then you can start using the broad side of your hammer to kind of squish out the little bulbs that you've created on the edges. And you'll get a lot more movement doing it that way. But yeah, it's very similar. And kind of like I said earlier in the stream, you can, like, a lot of blacksmithing projects are just very, very basic techniques that are just slightly remixed in different ways to create different types of projects. So yeah, we're broadening out those the flat area that we're going to cut those tongs into. And this is also a technique that you could definitely use, or that you would be using for the spoon. But instead of doing just like doing the parallel sides like we do for this fork, you would want to taper into a point, the top, very similarly, or for that spoon bowl, very similarly to the leaf. And that's something that I forgot when we did do that spoon bowl. Maybe I will get rid of my sweatshirt because it keeps falling, or like the sleeves keep falling down on me, and then it's like a spider crawling down my my arm. So today I am wearing a Metals Museum shirt. So let's advertise for the Memphis Metals Museum in Memphis, Tennessee. It's the International Metals Museum. They are amazing. They have metalsmiths from all over the world that they have in their collections. It's absolutely amazing, some of the stuff there. It's hammer time! Welcome in, Mound of Meat. Scared of spiders. Am I scared of spiders? Only a little bit, sometimes. Like, I'm not scared of a spider that's like in the corner of a room. What scares me about spiders is if they start coming close to me. Because I mean, if they're off and they're doing their own thing in their own corner, or like not bothering me, they can just stay there. They'll eat all of the other bugs that I am sort of afraid of. Like, you know, the box elder bugs and flies and mosquitoes and stuff. So I don't mind if the spider is in the corner minding its own business. What I don't like is like if it starts chasing me. If the spider is gonna chase me, I don't want to be there. So hopefully they'll just mind their own business. All right, we're gonna do another heat. All right, so we're gonna continue to hammer in the center to get that nice width going. You can kind of see it's really starting to grow really nicely. Slower hammer blows are allowing me to kind of make sure that I know where they're going to hit. And then I can also control how much width, or like how much growth we're getting. So see, it's kind of splaying a little bit more in the front of those tines than they are in the back. And I want those to be a little bit more parallel. So because we didn't spend nearly as much, or like we were, you know, very careful, it hasn't grown too much outside of our tolerance. So we're going to be able to go back for our next heat and kind of correct that a little bit. So we've got plenty of meat in there to get ourselves some corrections and even increase our width more. So I suppose Spider-Man movie marathon is out of the question. I actually like Spider-Man, but then I kind of feel like Spider-Man is a little less like an actual spider and more man. So less spider, more man. I'm a really big comic book fan. When I talk about my geek cred, I'm always talking about my Marvel comic book collection. At one point, my collection was actually worth more than my vehicle, my old truck. So my comic book collection is actually relatively high value at this point. I've got a lot of really good key issues, like some good Wolverine ones. I actually have first appearance of Deadpool, so I really, really love comic books. It used to be a passion of mine. I'm a little less into them now than I used to be when I was in high school and early college. But I kind of feel like your hobbies kind of, they grow and wane, and as your priorities kind of shift. And it's hard having multiple high cost hobbies. And so I kind of put that money that I used to spend on comic books into my blacksmithing and the shop. So, yeah. But I love comic books. They are so much fun, and I love superheroes. It's a money pit, the shop, worse than a Jeep. Welcome in, Johnson. It is totally a money pit in this shop. I mean, the amount of money that I put in just for like the tools, and not even the tools, the consumables. And I know that you know exactly what I'm talking about. All of your belts for your sanders and like the sandpaper for like your hand sanding and all of that adds up so fast. It's like I spend like $60 a week sometimes on like propane and consumables. But yeah, welcome in, Johnson. It's great to see you here. I saw that you were streaming earlier today, or maybe it was yesterday. The Jeep. Dark is a mod for Johnson. That's great. Dark is a great friend and a great part of my community. All right. So we are continuing to thin out this fork and kind of correct the splaying that we were getting. As we were thinning it out, it was splaying out further towards this back end, and that's really because there isn't anything attached to it. So we got to make sure that it isn't, or like that the sides of the fork are parallel, as opposed to, angled. Yeah, I wanted to say converging, but they're more converging back here. All right, so I think in our next heat, we're gonna look a little bit more at these shoulders and kind of redefine those in there. There is, like, just like our previous fork, we aren't getting quite as sharp of a transition between the tines and the handle that I'm looking for. Gotta remember to put locks on the doors. Yeah, I'm doing the shop pretty much every day now. Great for productivity, not so great for anything else. Exactly, man. So expensive. Johnson, oh no, there's two of us. I'm dark and unstoppable non-corporeal existence. The one in your basement. That Shikorsi, an obsolete existence. Yep. But I mean, it's great to have like cross communities. I love building that because I mean, we're all just a big happy family on the makers and creators spaces. And I feel like, you know, like there's a closer knitness to like, you know, the knife makers and the blacksmiths, and like we'll throw the glass makers and Yankee in there too. But it's been amazing growing this community and, you know, sharing with everyone. I feel very at home. Yeah, there is a niche in the makers and crafters for sure. I mean, we're such a small community, but I'm glad to see that I was very wrong. I thought that like the community was a lot smaller at first because like when I came here looking to see if it would be worth streaming, I feel like the amount of people that were streaming, they only had like 2 or 3 views each, and I was like, you know what? I'll do it anyway because I mean, at least I can capture footage so that I can put it on YouTube or something. And then when I got here, you know, after about 2 weeks, you guys found me, and ever since we've just been growing pretty steadily, and it has been amazing. I'm really excited to be part of this family. Makers and crafters are my favorite group, Ping says. They are an amazing group. Everybody has been so kind. Everybody that I've come in contact with, like, I've never had any problem viewers or like any other creators that have caused me any issues at all. Everybody is like open, or you know, come to with open arms and, you know, helped each other, and it has been amazing. And like the only problem chatters I've seen have been bots. And that is so great because I mean, when I was modding for a friend who streamed like video games, every once in a while there were just these awful people and I'd have to just like kick them out. But I haven't seen that. I haven't had that issue. And I'm starting to get a lot more scale. The first hammer blow of that heat, a whole bunch of scale came up and hit me in the face. I'm just lucky that it wasn't hot scale. It must have been like from this side over here. Gotta be careful with scale because if it comes up and it's really, really hot, it'll burn you. So if it had been hot, I would have asked you to use the slash or like the exclamation point strike, because you know we got to count those strikes, make sure that we don't hurt ourselves or you know, mess up our work. We use the 3 strikes and you're out system. If we screw up or injure ourselves 3 times, we leave the shop, because our mental state is not where it needs to be safe out in the shop. So we've been streaming for about an hour and a half. I think we're definitely going to be able to finish this fork today. Sinks back to John's basement. See you next time. Have a great day, Corporal. Thank you so much for joining us. Your head is not in the game. Yep. Good rule set. A reasonable idea. Yeah. I mean, blacksmithing, it can be relatively dangerous. And you know, if your mind isn't in the correct state, then it can be really, really dangerous. Like if you're preoccupied or not paying attention or just like, you know, having a really bad ADHD day or something, you know, it's better to like cut your losses and start fresh in a day or like the next day, because if you've already made 3 mistakes, then you're just going to keep making them, because at 3 it's not a, you know, an accident, it's a pattern. So, and that's always been my, you know, my golden rule as far as safety in the shop. Alrighty. We're gonna do a little bit of hammering back on this piece. And it is bending in just a hair, but that's all right. We don't mind. We want that nice shelf to form in there. So we're going to hammer that back. Maybe. Yes, we're going to hammer that back to get that nice shelf in there. You can kind of see that starting to form. Starting to define that transition. So now we can go back to flattening this guy out a bit further. So, let's see. I don't know. I'm trying to get some really nice nuggets in there of like just shop info and, you know, instruction or answering questions and stuff so that I can have some good shorts out of this. And that you guys can get some good nuggets of information that you can take back to your own shops and your own projects. So let's see if I can come up with something else just to talk about. Let's see. I don't know. I do know that my neck is starting to hurt. I am the worst about grinding and sanding stuff, or like sanding projects. And I spent a good hour and a half yesterday in here grinding the silverware that we've been making to kind of make them really nice and shiny and pretty, so that I can take pictures of them and stuff. And I don't have a really good stand-up setup, so I'm always like, you know, hunched over to grind and sand things. So I kind of feel like I'm not used to it. So the muscles in my neck, they're kind of hurting a little bit. I took some ibuprofen earlier, but I don't know. But yeah, because I mean, I'm just not used to finishing my own pieces. I hate finished work. It's why when I was a jeweler, I was very excited when I got promoted from the apprentice job to the full jeweler's job, because I got to size all of the jewelry and like set stones, solder rings together, you know, do design work. I didn't have to do any of the polishing. That was the apprentice's job. And it was absolutely miserable for me when I was an apprentice and like half of my work was polishing. I hate that. Polishing sucks. That's why I'm not a knife maker. It's one of those things that I just kind of got to bite the bullet on, though, because, I mean, if I'm going to have good projects, good clean projects, they need to be ground and sanded and, you know, finished. So, yeah, I gotta make that work. So it looks like we've got an ad going right now, and we are going to wait until that ad is complete before we do our next heat. And because it's ad time, I'm gonna flip my clips. And I just saw a comment pop, so we'll get to that. There we go. What do we got? Somebody get an extinguisher. That one was a good burn. Thank goodness for Dremels and felt wheels, right? Dremels and felt wheels make things so much easier to deal with when it comes to like polishing really, really small things. When I was in the jeweler's shop, I actually had a bench grinder, or I mean, a bench polisher. It's very similar to a bench grinder, but instead of the stone wheels that you would have on a bench grinder, it is the polish wheels, and then you get like your rouge and put it on the polishing pads, and then it just like shine that stuff up really, really quickly. So I don't have one, or I don't have a bench polisher, but I do have a Dremel with the polishing pads that I use when I'm polishing things like really, really fine when I'm doing jewelry work. But it works so well. I love it. And then it's like, I don't actually, like, I can bring the jewelry and the polisher up here, so then I don't have to like look down at it. So I have a much smarter setup for my jewelry bench than I do for like the, grinding and polishing on this side of the shop. So I need to work on that. Maybe I can like raise my, or I have a second one. That's what I should do. Instead of raising this one, because this one is the perfect height for hammering on top of, maybe I should set up my second vise as one for, or specifically to use for like polishing and grinding and stuff like that. That would work really, really well. It's just been sitting there in the corner for like eons. It was my main bench, or like post vise for a very, very long time, but in this shop it just never really fit because the plate that affixes it to its stand is just huge. It's like yay big. It's ridiculous. All right, our ads are done. Let's get another heat. I'm really looking forward to this. So we're gonna have a lot of area, or like it's going to, our fork face is gonna be really broad. It's gonna give us a lot of space to cut in those tines. And we'll be able to clean up in between them very, very easily. And that's what I look for when I am making fork tines. So this will be real nice. We might actually be able to move the center one out of the way a little bit and clean up a little bit easier with the hammer maybe. We'll see what I can get done. Normally, when you're manufacturing a fork, the whole thing is actually cut out with a die. And so the whole thing, it kind of just like, there's like a power hammer or a press, and it just kind of like smashes down, and then you get the entire fork in one go. And then it goes to, you know, grinding and polishing. But it's kind of like it cuts the whole thing out at the same time. So like when you are blacksmithing it, it's kind of a little bit less immediate. But I mean, the process is kind of the same. You're cutting in the tines as opposed to forging them in. So we're going to work on this side a little bit. We want to keep it a little bit thick so that we can have the material freedom to grind them a little bit and clean them up that way. Do jewelers ever use tumblers or vibratory polishers? We do, actually. A lot of times my boss would use them for polishing chains. And I know that sounds a little bit counterintuitive because some of the little beads and like the stuff will actually go through the links of chains, and you'll have to pull them out with like tweezers and stuff. But they do an incredible job of polishing everything up and taking off any little burrs and stuff that are still left on a piece without ripping up the polish pads. Drunken Dwarf Iron, hello, welcome in. I'm assuming we make a plate and then a pen, and finally we cook dinner in the forge. DeCarlo, welcome in. Now we're ordering pizza? Pizza is a great idea. Pizza sounds good. I've got some leftover pizza in the fridge. Maybe I'll have a snack after streaming today. But the gas forge cooks a pizza in seconds. It does. Welcome in, guys. Welcome in. I don't know that I know a lot of people who claim that they cook their lunch on the forge as they are blacksmithing in a day. But I don't know that I would really like doing that, because I mean, there's always dust and dirt floating around in the shop, or in this shop. And maybe that's because I just don't clean it enough, but like I just don't want to eat little pieces of metal that like float around in the air. So I've never cooked on the forge. I have friends that used to. When I was first learning how to blacksmith, one of my mentors would cook something, or like marshmallows in front of the forge, and it'd be just like you like this, and they'd be done and caught on fire even. Maybe we get some stainless steel foil and try Damascus pizza. That would be funny. My dad was a mechanic, and he would heat his lunch on an engine. He would wrap it in aluminum foil. Wow. I cook slices of pizza on the forge. Once it's been turned off, but still hot, just polish up a bit of the steel plate and use it as a skillet. Yeah, I mean, I've done things like that before. Like, I've made skillets and stuff. I mean, it wouldn't be that much of or that different than, putting a skillet that I've made in, on the stove than on the top of the forge. Although my outside edge of the forge doesn't get quite as hot as I feel like it would need to cook that. I thought about using the engine to heat up my lunch, but with all the oil and diesel leaking over, yeah, no thanks. I wouldn't either. Like, that is my main thing. It's like, you could eat relatively safely in some of these places, but maybe it wouldn't be as good of an idea with all of the fumes everywhere. I mean, maybe if we were outside, maybe instead of inside, there's a lot less, like, floating particles around. I think I could probably heat something on the forge if it was the outdoor forge, like the coal forge. And I mean, I don't know, that actually sounds even more dirty, to be honest. No, you need to put it in the forge just after I turn it on. Well, that would be an instantaneously cooked pizza. Instant cooked. My forge gets so hot. All right. Extra crispy, or in Star Wars words, Anakin's Mustafar special. Definitely. Very, very crispy, that Anakin. You guys know that is it like 20-year anniversary of episode 3 is coming up this year? That is so crazy to me. I feel like it hasn't been that long. I mean, Star Wars was like you know? I was relatively young when that happened, but I don't really feel all that old, you know? But yeah, it's coming back into theaters, I saw the other day. I don't know. I haven't actually gone to like the episode 1 or 2 when it returned to theaters. I don't know if I'm going to go and see 3, because I mean, I feel like 2 was better than 3. No way. 5 years ago was 1990. I don't know. I don't know that I wish it was, 5 years ago was 1990, because if that was the case, I'd only be 9 years old. And it'd be a little irresponsible of me to be out here in the shop. Because I was born in 1986. I mean, maybe we can get rid of, like, I don't know, 15 years or so. Then I'd be like, how old would I be if we got rid of 15 years? I would be in my 20s. I could handle that. I mean, 4, 5, and 6. 2 and 3 were trash. 1 and 2 and 3 all the way. Yeah. You forgot to change your calendar again. You would be 20, Dark. Yeah. I think I'm a little bit on the young side sometimes. Like, I think it's kind of like a what community I'm in. Sometimes I'm young. Like, I feel like I'm relatively young in this community, in the makers and crafters space here on Twitch. But I also kind of feel like I'm really old for the MMO crowd. When I go and I play my games, I'm really old. Like, a bunch of my guild mates are like in their early 20s, and they make me feel old. But here, I mean, I don't know. I kind of feel like maybe I'm in the middle somewhere. I have seen some really young creators, and I've also seen some older creators. And I think that's actually the beauty of our maker and crafter community. As long as they don't greet you with "Hello, Granny Ray," you're doing fine. Some of them are all like, "Hello, Mommy," or, Auntie Ray. But I haven't gotten Grandma yet. I do feel like a mother to some of them a lot. Like, I have this one guy that's in my guild, and he's constantly treating me like I'm his mom. And like, for whatever reason, in my brain, it just kind of clicks. And then I'm like, have you finished your homework? Did you send in your paperwork for whatever it is that you were doing? Are you actually eating? Sometimes I do feel like a mother. But it's all right. Some of those people don't have adults that are, responsible or help them with their responsibility. I've got this one guy who is in the Navy, and every time he has to like put in his paperwork for like every year when they do like the promotion, he always forgets. And so every year I'm trying to remind him, get your paperwork in, get your paperwork in. You know, it's one of those things. Man, speaking of paperwork, if you're American, it's tax time. It is tax season. That is gross. I don't want to have to do my taxes. But it's all right. I don't have to do them myself anymore. We hire them out now. That's a load off my brain because, I mean, the amount of math that you have to do for some of those forms for the IRS is kind of ridiculous. Nah, I did mine last year. Yeah, for sure. Yes, tax season. Don't forget, guys. Yeah, so I've got like, I think I have 2 more forms that we've got to get from like different money sources. And then after that, I'll be able to bundle them all up and send them off to our accountant. We got an inheritance that makes it a lot more complicated than it used to be to file our taxes. That and like sometimes we get like some like housing, like for owning a house, you get kind of like some credits that way. So it makes it a little bit more difficult than being like, I have a single W-2 and I can just like fill in the little thing on the free file. So I have to have an accountant nowadays. I have the same relationship with a lady in our financial department, always utterly lost, and she helps me the whole process. Paying yours was done February 2nd? Wow, I am so impressed. I'm so impressed. I used to be that good though, because that was back in the day when I was like filing a loan and I would get a refund and I was like, ooh, I want that refund. I want it now. But nowadays it's so complex that sometimes we pay and sometimes we get a refund, but it's a really small refund when we get them. Mount me. Yeah. I hate tax season. It's like, why do we even need tax season? The IRS already knows how much money I make. Why do I need to tell them how much money I make so that they compare it to their... Alright. We are going to kind of finesse this handle a little bit so that we can make sure it's nice and straight. I'm just going to do something really simple, really little. Maybe we'll forge that down just a little bit so that we've got a nice end. That looks nice. I'm pretty happy with that. Okay, so now we've got our nice fork blank. Ooh, we've got a little bit of a, okay. So it looks like we curved it a little bit with our tongs. That means that it's getting a little bit on the skinny side. So I'm going to try and straighten that out just a little bit easier. Alrighty, so the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to take it over to the vise. We're going to come over here like so. And affix it in this vise. We want to make sure that we've got it in here really, really, really tight. Because the last thing that we want it to do is shake around in there while we're in the middle of grinding it. Or like cutting in those tines. Alrighty. Now I gotta get my angle grinder And I've got the flat disc on it right now, so I will be right back, guys. Sorry about this. And this would be a great time for me to put in a be right back. I mean, I'm not going to be gone all that long, but enough time. Okay. Let's put our cutting disc on the angle grinder. Because H&R Block needs to make money too. That is exactly right. That is exactly right. There is like a whole area of lobbyists that lobby for taxes and like tax companies. All right. That's nice and on there. Ooh. There is a, looks like I'm gonna need to get out the electrical tape for that. There's like a little nick in the cabling. Okay. Now that's all nice and on there and plugged in, I need to grab my dust mask. That is incredibly important. And it was over by my bench vise today. Or not my bench vise, my bench grinder. Okay. I think I'm gonna go from this angle so you guys can kind of see what I'm doing a little bit. It's probably gonna be, you know, I might get in or end up in the way a little bit, but let's go. Let's try this. All right, so I'm going to show you guys what I've got as a start. So this is kind of the start that I've got. You kind of see that that one is pretty thin. So I kind of want to make sure that that one gets all nice and pointed out. That's probably about the size of tines I want. So I can go back in and torque going. So I think I want to take some off of this side over here to kind of make it a little bit more even with that one. And then we're going to take a lot of the middle stuff out of the center tine. Shouldn't I be wearing gloves? I don't wear gloves when I'm grinding, and the reason I don't wear gloves when I am grinding is because I don't want the glove to get caught in the grinder. And it is a little bit of a danger, a tiny bit. But yeah, I think that's pretty decent. Got to be really, really careful when we are continuing to grind these out so that we don't like make jagged marks and stuff. Keep it even and stuff. So I'm going to turn it, and we are going to work from the back to kind of make sure that it's nice and even. Now you can talk about me. No, I have an ad. I'm going to take this off for just a second so I can have fresh air and breathe a little bit better. So I'm pretty happy with that. Like I said, there's the two thick tines that are on the one side. I need to kind of make sure that I take some off of the outside edge and then take the center area out of the center tine. So in just a second, we'll start doing that again. But I'm actually pretty happy with those. I think that it'll be good if I like can angle in so that they're a little, or the tines are a little bit more pointy. But yeah. Christy S, welcome in. Welcome in. Drunken Dwarf, I thought you had already been a follower, but thank you for following. All right, so we're about to start doing, or like continuing grinding out those tines. So more mask time. Okay. All right, so we are now at a point where we're going to need a much smaller. So we are now at a point where we're going to need a much smaller grinder. So I am actually going to leave this as is, and we're going to work on it a little bit tomorrow. But yeah, this is pretty much how to do it. We'll work on it a little bit more tomorrow while we are grinding the rest of our silverware, because this is going to be like a Dremel job. I've done as much cutting as I feel comfortable doing with the angle grinder, because it is just such a big old tool. But I'm pretty happy with what we've got here. So we'll go like this, and you guys should be able to see that pretty well. We've got ourselves a 3-prong fork. Alrighty. And that's kind of how I would go about doing a 3-prong fork. We can kind of put it in the forge to kind of maybe clean it up just a little bit, or like where we've ground that down. But I think overall, we're pretty well done. Ooh. Maybe I'll clean up a little bit around my... There we go. So I'm not tripping over it. But yeah, we've got a decent amount of material, of thickness here. So now that we've got these in, maybe we'll put this back in the forge and we'll kind of bend it. Right now it's very, very flat. And most forks have a kind of a bend, so you can kind of like scoop that in. So let's heat that up and put that bend in. It shouldn't take too long to heat it up. And then once we're done with that, we will probably end the stream because we finished our project, or at least to the point where I can feasibly use the tools that I currently have in this shop. So we're going to trade out hammers again. We're going to use this one to finesse because it's a little bit smaller and easier to use. So yeah, if you guys have anybody that you'd like to raid, let me know, and because I'm taking suggestions. Once we're done with this this job, let's see who's on. We're streaming right now. And Johnson's streaming, so we'll raid Johnson because he came and visited us. We'll make sure that we raid Johnson. Does that sound all right? And I've got a tiny little clip I want to capture. Yeah, Johnson came to visit, so we're going to raid Johnson. Okay. Whoa. I dropped my brick. I'll have to fix that when it's not, when I'm not streaming, or when it's not on. Okay. So we've got ourselves a nice area like that. Now we're gonna bring that back up. So we've kind of got ourselves a nice little bend there. We're gonna bend it a little bit further. Not too bad. You can use a few more heats, but I think that's pretty good. I think you could scoop that or using that pretty well. There we be. 3-prong fork. Or what about Yankee, since he's currently unable to do his work? Maybe a little support. Oh, do you guys want to raid Yankee? Yankee Plays is, I believe he's streaming. I didn't see him on my thing. Maybe he's underneath the rest of the streamers. Let's raid. But yeah, we could raid Yankee. Alrighty. So thank you all for joining me. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Awesome. Yes, thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much.